Hello, welcome back to my channel. Who's ready for a new project? We're moving back into the bathroom. Last week we were outside, and that was for two reasons. Number one, the weather this week is not great, so it's not good to be outside. And number two, I needed to decide on the wallpaper because I was telling you before I don't like it, but I needed to pick a new option, get it on its way before we move forward, because everything else in the future, we're pretty much done. It just layers on top of the wallpaper. So until I had the wallpaper resolved, there was no point moving forward. Now I have designed new wallpaper. It's on its way. So unfortunately, the first thing we're doing today is tearing out the old wallpaper. It was too dark for me. I'm gonna try to explain to you how I see light. So the more light reflects, the more my eye likes it. So every single room I have has wallpaper, but it mostly is white. There's a white background, and that's so that the light can reflect off of it. And the wallpaper in here was like, it really absorbed all of the light, and so nothing reflected off of it, so my eye just didn't like it. So it was my fault. I chose the wrong thing. I feel horrible about it. If you want to leave me a message and make me feel worse, like, please don't. My husband was already like, Ashley, this is putting us way back, because now we have, like, it pulled off some of the primer, so I have to reprime. I have to caulk again where we like tore off the wallpaper. I'm also painting all the trim. I needed to do that anyway, but it just really felt like, oh wow, you already spent a half a day putting up this wallpaper. Now you're spending a half a day taking it off and doing repairs. And that was a waste of $500. But I'd rather do all of that and feel really dumb about it, and have a room I love. So I haven't spent like months working on this room and a lot of money to have it be something I'm just meh about. So as my husband said, make sure you like your wallpaper, because it's a big deal to take it down, because we have to take down the sconces, the mirror, the light covers, and that's why we didn't do anything else, because I just knew I would have to take it off. Anyway, that's all done. And the next thing we are doing is we're bringing the cabinet in, because this is our project for this week. I have this Ikea cabinet, and we are going to do a hack on it. And I think it's going to be very cute. And we don't have a ton of storage. It's a 1905 house, so wherever we can, we're adding storage. And there's nowhere to put a broom and a mop. And this is the last place in our upstairs that we're renovating, so it's going in here. I know that makes no sense, but that's what's happening. So I do have some fun things we're going to add to the cabinet. We're going to raise it up. We're going to put it on a base to make it look way more high-end. I've had a lot of people actually ask me lately, like when I do my Billy Bookcase hacks, like, is there a point to raising it up? And it just, like, a piece of furniture on the floor will always look like an Ikea piece. If you build a base and make it look totally built in, then it elevates it, like, literally and figuratively. So we're going to be doing that. And then on top, I have a piece of architectural salvage that I got from an antique shop a while ago, and I've just been holding on to it. And it has sentimental value for me. So when my husband and I were engaged, we went out to a restaurant afterwards to celebrate. And years ago, like before we went there, it had like this architectural detail all the way around the room. And I found one at the antique shop, and it's like so special to me. So now that's going to be going on top of this piece. And I also have some carved swans that I specially ordered that took months to get here. So those will also be going on top. And I know that the architectural salvage, I probably shouldn't touch it and like keep it as an antique, but I'm building it in, so I'm going to paint that white. And then I'm going to add some more gold details on after the paint has dried, and it'll have a similar look, but it'll feel really custom in the room, but also I'll know how special it is. Okay, my husband is building the base for the cabinet, and he's doing it out of 2x4s, and he's just screwing it together with screws. He did a 2-layer design, and unfortunately it ended up being too tall. So we put the cabinet on it to test it, and so the architectural detail didn't fit by ½ an inch. So he took off one of the layers, that was an inch, and since we knew that would be the right height, he screwed that into the wall. And then this corner of the room is so unlevel, and it's just like the walls are wonky, the floor is a little wonky. It's an old house, what can you do? So he's using shims to level the base. And then he put the cabinet back on top of the base he built, and used more shims again to level a little bit more from this area. So once that was level, he used screws to attach the cabinet to the base, and then we're also attaching the cabinet to the wall. So this is officially built in. If we have an earthquake or something, it's not going anywhere, so that's great. Now that we know that the architectural salvage fits, we are screwing it to the top of the cabinet. Okay, so if you were worried this is a blue cabinet in a pastel room, this is actually the protective film on the doors. And whenever I do a project with this Sexton cabinet, it's very exciting when you get to the point where you can take the film off, because that means it no longer is going to look blue and you're almost done. Okay, so next we're going to attach the hardware. We're starting with the top section. We're just using a pull, and I'm using leftover pulls I had from the vanity we redid a few weeks ago. And then on the bottom, I have very special pulls, which are these like vintage swan ones, where the swan's neck is the pull. It's so fancy, but they're kind of a pain in the butt to attach because they have two big holes we have to make. And then the other problem is that the screws are too long. So my husband put them in, decided the length, and then marked that with a red Sharpie. And then he also turned the drill on, so the Sharpie marks all the way around the drill where he needed to cut it off. I thought that was really smart. And then he used his Dremel tool to make the screws shorter so that, you know, the pulls will be on correctly. And there were a lot of sparks because you're cutting metal. But then he shortened both screws, put them in, and the pulls work really nicely, so that's great. A lot of the cabinet is getting close to being done. We have a lot of finished work, but at the bottom we still have more stuff to do. So we are trimming the shims. So you kind of put shims in how far you need them to get it level, and then you have to cut off the excess. So the cabinet we are using for this project is called the Sektion from Ikea, and it is part of their kitchen cabinet line. So in our hall, we put this cabinet in, and we use this for a big linen closet. Okay, so I want to show you what we did on this cabinet because I'm using the same principles on the bathroom cabinet. So first of all, on the base, we raised it up. We did it the same height as baseboards. So you have to make sure the wood that you put underneath is the same height as your baseboards. And then you do cute hardware. That always makes a fun difference. And at the top on this one, we made it the same height as the ceiling because this is a flat ceiling instead of the angled ceiling. And then it has crown molding wrapped around the top. And I do have a little decorative onlay, the bow on top to make it look cute. So I'm making the top special. I'm adding a decorative onlay, doing hardware, making the base. So all those make for a really beautiful cabinet that you could use wherever you need storage in your house. And then the last thing I'm doing for today is gluing up the swans that I painted before. I measured 3 inches down and I'm centering them on the door, and I'm just taping them on because the glue needs to dry overnight. Okay, today is our last and final day working on the cabinet. The first thing we're doing is we are preparing to cut the scallops. We're just going to wrap the scallops around the bottom of the cabinet. This will just be a cute decoration, and again, it will reference the vanity on the other side of the room. We are cutting the scallops with a miter saw and mitering the corners so they'll fit together nicely along the base, and then we are just putting those on with a nail gun. I was a little nervous to take the tape off the swans because I was like, what if they're crooked? What if adhesive got everywhere? But they look really nice, so those are good to go. And then for the base, because the bottom was a little crooked and we had to use the spacers, I have a lot to caulk, so I'm just putting a really thick caulk bead. It's going to take a few hours for that to dry, but that's okay. So I'm just putting that on along the front and the side, and I have tape down so that I'm not getting caulk on my beautiful mosaic floors. And then I'm also caulking the side where the cabinet hits the wall. Again, this is one more step to make it look as built in as possible, because it really is built in at this point. The last thing that needs to be done on the cabinet is to just paint the base. The caulk is dry, and then all that wood just needs a few coats so that it matches the rest of the cabinet. So earlier in the week, I took down the wallpaper that I didn't like. Well, the new wallpaper is here, so I'm gonna put that all up. And I mean, it's not fun wallpapering a space twice within like a month or so, but I think it'll be nice to have it be more my vision. And I'm really excited because this like pulls this wall together so I can finally show you the beautiful cabinet. Okay, the cabinet is all done. It is little, but it packs a lot of punch because the storage is so good. I love the drawers. We used to have a cabinet in here and it was always a mess inside, but with drawers you can pull everything out, you can see everything. I find it so much easier to keep organized and looking good. I really love how the pediment looks on top. I think it's so fun, and I really love that it's just sentimental. So it looks good. It reminds me of a happy time, win-win. I put the carved swans on the front and I think that is really beautiful too. I'm just doing like a swan themed room, so I love that. I finally got the wallpaper up and it took me forever, especially going around the top of the cabinet. That was very painful because it's high up and awkward with the cabinet in place, but I'm very happy that everything's up and looking good. We're gonna do a project next week where we finish up a few things and then it's the reveal. So we're almost done with this room. Thank you for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Let me know how you think it turned out. This project was a little bit expensive, like with the cabinet and everything on top of it, it's like over $700. That like makes me want to throw up. But the cabinet's so nice, so I think it will last forever, and the storage, it's so good to have. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up so I know to do more IKEA hacks like this. And if you're not already, please subscribe.